Hi, Chris Christopher here. Second episode of Relentless Life on Your Terms. I have a very special guest with me, one of my personal mentors and owner of Glenville Homes, Mr. Len Warson.
How are you?
Thanks for being here. Now, we're not going to cover too many things today it's more general conversation, a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your journey, how Glenville started. Now, I know Glenville started in 1958 by your father, Michael.
Correct, yeah.
You then came into the business. Mm-hmm. You did an amazing job. You grew it and brought it to this height. You've done a lot of great things. Can you share with us some of those things?
Yeah, so look, I came into the business in the mid-80s and I was an insolvency accountant, which most people were surprised because I'm fairly creative. But insolvency is actually a fairly creative space. And came in and because I'm more creative in my mindset than artistic, I was always looking at how do you do something a bit different? Why do the same as everybody? Why copy? So probably one of the first things that I did when I joined was I opened up the first super display village, which was in Wantirna. So up until that point, most display homes are like 2 or 3 homes in a row. We did a 13-house display centre. What we also did was really interesting was half the homes were very architectural. So I took a real risk on moving away from that sort of outer suburban architecture and moved to more inner suburban architecture. That was one of my early plays. So there were sort of 2 inventions in there. And then we actually created a really graphically beautiful display centre, as in like the office type logo, which now when you do apartments and developments, they're all typically like that. Then through the journey in the early 90s, we opened up the first inner suburban display home. We competed against architects at that point. Nobody was in a suburban apart from us as far as builders are concerned. And so through the housing business, we've sort of seen that inventiveness, and we're about to launch Collection, which is this new range of very architectural homes, very affordable. In the development space, there's been a lot. I mean, Yarra Bend is unquestionably
Cutting edge.
Yeah, I mean, we've tried to create the best development in the world.
It got voted number 1 most sustainable.
Most livable city in the world.
Yeah,
most livable city in the world. And that was nominated by FutureLab, and FutureLab are the #1 futurists in the world. And so that's been a great journey, but it's a development that's big enough that actually you've got enough money that you can throw at it to actually do things that just are cutting edge and lead the world. So that's been a really sort of probably a pinnacle for me, because the size, it's a $1.5 billion project. It's huge, and it's led the world in so many ways. I was just dealing the other day with ex-general manager of Tesla, and he said to me, that at Tesla was seen. It was the relationship with Glenville over Tesla Town. Was still to this day is the most, from a marketing point of view, the most posted, or whatever you call it, story ever in Tesla's history.
And I guess that's something to be very proud of. And you are one of the most awarded builders in the country, and I think that's a true testament to the quality, the style of your products. Mm-hmm. I'm a very big believer of your products, as you know. I used to be a top-selling agent. I think I've dropped to number 2, so I'm a bit disappointed there. So we'll get back there. And I own a lot of Glenville homes personally, so I'm a big advocate of the product because you do a great build, they're easy to rent, they're easy to sell, and it's just a good product all around. So, and I think your being meticulous really comes across through all your brands and all your businesses. Okay. And I know you love your art as well. Does that play a part in all your design and everything you're doing?
Look, I think I'm naturally artistic, so I think that the ability to predict art or know where the market's going I think is just a visual thing for me. I think that it definitely helps. I mean, I think that when it gets to architecture and interiors and that, I'm an absolute firm believer in enduring architecture. I just don't like producing product that's totally in fashion today and out of fashion tomorrow. It's okay when you're buying clothes because it's not expensive. You can dispose of clothes. But I think with the home, you want something that really does test time. So the understanding of the whole creative world and understanding what's going to endure, I think is paramount to what I do. I'm CEO, but I'm also creative director of the group, so I oversee all product. So to me, whether it's a painting or a sculpture or interiors or landscaping or architecture, to me it's all the same. It's all part of that one passion that I have for just creating beautiful and enduring products.
Yeah, I find that intriguing because when you're trying to explain it to me, I'm a very left brain sort of guy. Right brain artistic, I'm so far detached from that, it's amazing. But when you're trying to explain to me what a painting's supposed to mean, and I don't personally get it. But when I look at your houses and I look at what that transcends to, I understand that. But I guess it probably takes time to understand what someone was trying to paint when they did something like that, I guess.
You know, yes and no. I think that you can look at a painting and say it's beautiful or it really talks to you. So you might not understand the psychology behind it or the inventiveness behind it or any of that, but it will still talk to you. And so the fact is that it's like numbers. We get balance sheets and profit loss. Most people in business know what they mean.
I understand that.
They don't have to. You don't have to know how to create them to understand the end result. So I think that when we look at the creative side or the artistic side, you don't need to know how it's created or the psychology. It will talk to you in some way and say something. And that's important to me. It's not important to everybody else.
So someone like yourself who has an amazing art collection which is worth lots and lots of money, would you say your favourite piece is the Reventon ball that I sent you?
It's a bit like children. I don't have favourites. Everyone's a bit different in a different way.
He's very diplomatic, and I thought to myself, look, what can I don't even know. This is very risky sending a man who has so much art a copy of an abstract ball, but I hope he appreciates what it meant. And that was just a thank you for the time you spend with me. I know you don't have to spend time mentoring me. It's something that I learned so much from. You do teach me a lot about strategic thinking, and I want to ask you a couple of questions. When I asked you, or more or less pestered you to mentor me, why did you say yes?
I love people. So I love people who are driven. I love people who want to improve. And I think everybody's got something to add. So I have a particular angle to the way I do things. Might not suit everybody, but it suits me, and parts might suit you. I love it in my company too. If I've got people who want to grow, who want to understand things, I have unlimited time for them. Right? And it comes from a passion for people, and I want to see everybody be their best version of themselves they can be. And if I can help in some way, that's great.
I think that's what makes you a great leader. How many people do you have now at Glenville across all your brands and Glenville, a place at Glenville? How many people do you have all here?
So I think we've got over 150 staff, maybe 170, I'm not sure at the moment. And then we, all our trades on site, many of which work full time for us, we have thousands of those. It's hard to know.
There's another good thing, like I've got 50 and I find hard running them, and one day we'll get there too. But one thing is also a great mark of a good company. The people that I work with that are from Glenville, I know one of them's been here 24 years, some have been here for a long tenure, which is always a good sign of a good company that treats their team well. Yeah. And I always look at that when you go into a company, because people that have been there for a very long time, and you go to someone 5 years, 10 years, Stuart's 24 years or 23 or something along the lines.
25 now.
25. That's a real testament to a good company. What would you say in your last 10 years was the biggest aha moment for you personally or your business?
Sorry, the biggest what moment?
Biggest aha moment, like, wow, this is going to really impact Glenville. What a great idea.
I think there's a few. for me, buying the Amcor site was massive for us. Honestly, the biggest moments in Glenville is about employing some of my key players. It's not even to a footy team, you know. You've got, if you've got, I'm the coach. I just need the resource to work with. So, having picked some great key players who run different parts of my business, they're the moments that allow me to go, wow, I can now move this business. So Glenville Homes, which is our retail arm and where we started, a smallest part of our business, I've recently picked up a fantastic manager, and that has allowed me to go, right, let's now go with the plan I've had for years of moving the business into this sector, or taking a place to a whole new level. I can't do it anymore because the business is too big. What I can do is coach people to get there.
What drives you to continue, Len? Sorry, because we mentioned what drives you to continue? Because obviously you've done very well with your business. It's at a point now where you could pass it on, you could sell, you could do many things. What drives you to continue to come back here?
I love it. I mean, you know, I just enjoy what I do. So I don't work as hard as I used to. So I think that's a key part for enjoyment, is that I've learnt to work less to get the outcome. So, I mean, if you're passionate about something,
I think that's subjective too, and I hope you don't mind me sharing this. I remember you told me, and it stayed with me. You went away for a very important business trip, and I won't mention the ins and the outs. You stayed an extra 2 days, and you said some people would see that as a vacation. What you did is you stayed there and you were thinking, and you put a different deal together, which means you saved a lot of money to Glenville because you were on vacation, your mind was clear, and you saw a different angle. And you came back and you saved your company substantial money. Would that be correct?
Yeah.
So you can look at that. It's working less, it's vacation, but it's strategic thinking at a very, very high level.
You need to clear your mind. I mean, at the end of the day, there's a thing called working hard and working easy. People think they work hard, but they just work longer hours and they're doing the same thing they do non-stop.
So being busy with being busy.
Yeah. And I think that the hardest thing is to actually think differently, because 1 + 1 doesn't equal 2. That's obvious. You can calculate that without thinking. So to think about new ways, new things, is exhausting. And it's very, very difficult to do when you're in your day-to-day routine of a business. You've got to really clear your headspace, get away from it all, and just think, what else can I do? And that's exhaustive thinking. But that's where you make the best decisions, is where you come up with the best ideas. It's where you solve most of your problems. I swim, and if I've had a tough morning and I need to think about something, I'll often go for a swim, and I need to have my Apple Watch on, because I lose complete track of my laps, because my mind's always thinking about how can I do this or that or whatever, and come up with new ideas.
I found it fascinating because I remember that you were saying to me before about the hours, and for me, I always wanted to be the hardest worker in any room I went in, and in most cases I would be. But now my goal is to become the most efficient worker in any room I've been in. Still do the hours because I love what I do. But when you once said to me, and I'm happy to share it, you said to me, Chris, it's like a road that's full. You need to clear your mind, keep the road clear so you can make the right decision. I remember you said that to me, and it resonated with me because I thought, I do have so many things going on that I can't actually just sit down and reflect. So many times a day now I walk around and I say, I just want to go catch my thoughts. I just want to hear myself think. I just sit down on my own thoughts and I work things out. And also once you told me, and someone asked you an important question, I said, Len, do you have the answer? I said, no, I haven't thought about it yet. Get back to me tomorrow. And the importance on actually really meticulously drilling down and finding out what the answer is something that I've definitely put into my game, and I feel that it's helped me. But also having to be there 15, 18 hours, how productive are you as well? How good are your decisions? What sort of quality will they be? For me, it was more of a passion, but it was also, I don't know if that's sustainable either. It's not 100% enjoyable, but if you can chuck swimming in, or in my case, snooker, or go do something else, maybe that would change it. So now that I'm reaching 40, it's something that I'm definitely focusing more on, based on what you told me.
Look, burnout's something you've got to be very, very mindful of. I mean, we look at sport and, sportsmen only have a limited lifespan. We're not in business for, a 5-10 year period. We're in business for a lot longer. And so you need to really pace yourself, and you got to go from, as you get older, from physical working hours, which is what we think is important, to actually being smarter about what we do and how we do it. And I remember when you were telling me the hours you were working, it was crazy. And you may have been working long hours, but it's really hard to think clearly when you're in that zone.
Well, I've always been one with 100% honesty and transparency. I can tell you I've eliminated 70% of the things I did. My day runs as efficient. Now it's 100% focused on certain things, acquiring businesses and looking at the things at a deeper level. And it was more of a notion, not being busy with being busy, but how effective was I? And I'd always ask myself that. Remember that you told me when I came in and I questioned you, you said to me, Chris, I've never met anyone that questions business as much as you. And I said to you, is that a good or a bad thing? And you said it's actually a good thing. I like to question things, so I always think of ways I can do it better. But when it came to work, it was a passion. I just wanted to get up and do it. I wanted to get out there, challenge myself. The bigger the challenge, the better it is for me, because I'm going to grow from it. So that's what excites me. But having said that, it also might not allow me to do other things, which now I'm starting to realise. I think experience is teaching me that, and dealing with people like yourself. I've got a mentor. I'm very fortunate to have a business coach, and I really drill these things down. And I see the last 6 months, the difference that's had for me is massive. And I think in the next 12 to 18 months, you're going to see Reventon go to the next level. I say this every year. Every January, I go, there's going to be a big year this year, boys. And one of my CFOs goes, Chris, you say that every year. I said, well, it's bound to be true sooner or later, but I honestly believe that with every fibre of my being. But the difference is now I'm strategically mapping out exactly how that's going to happen. I'm putting everybody accountable, and I know that it's going to happen.
Yeah. One of the things about you that I love, and you asked me earlier about people and why I do it, is ego. You see, every positive attribute about somebody has a negative. Ego is generally seen as a negative. And a lot of people who have a big ego don't allow help in their life. They think they can do it all themselves. So the ability to actually say, I want mentors, I want to listen to other people, I want to listen to what they have to say, and then, perhaps I'll accommodate part of it into what I do, is a key part of success. As I said to you in a previous conversation, one of the things that define successful long-term businesses is the ability to beat adversity. Because not every business runs well all the time.
I love that. Right? It's my favourite thing.
So to beat adversity, you've actually got to be able to put your ego aside and often listen to other people and understand the risks and pressures and the what ifs and what can go down. So I think that it's really important from an ego point of view to have that positive and negative. The ego to drive you, but the ego not to say, I'm not going to listen to anybody.
So be humble a little bit, so to speak.
Humble or accommodate, whatever.
Because I think, look, I don't think...
I listen to people all the time, my daughter came and worked for me for a while, and she said, you'll ask a question and you'll be the last person to answer. And she says, I've observed you. You're actually listening to what everybody in the room says, and then you're forming your view. And often, at the end of it, you'll say, just give me a few minutes.
Because you're collating all the information, and then, look, that's obviously very, very smart. And I mentioned to you before, Ray Dalio from the book Principles, that's exactly what he does. He gets a bunch of intelligent people in a room. They don't all agree, he gets all their points of view, and he goes, if you can get 6 intelligent people in a room about one point, the probability of you getting it right is much higher.
Yes.
Which is exactly what you're saying in essence. And I think it is important. Did you ever have any mentors or coaches while you were?
Look, like when I was selling, I read the Tom Hopkins book.
I read that one too.
What I didn't do, and I'm anti having too many mentors of too many different people in your life. I think you need one in each space. I think is really important, because otherwise you're not focused enough. So I believe in this focus. One of the key things I've done, I mean, we're a pretty large private company, is I put in a board.
You're telling me that.
And the reason for that is you're then getting other people's opinions and views on everything. One of the most interesting things I did was I put my wife on the board. And she said to me, I don't know anything about business. What can I contribute? And I said, you know me. So a lot of the decisions we make, she says, didn't you just come home and say to me that you're exhausted and you don't want to grow the business anymore? And you want a break? And I go, yes. She goes, so I don't think we should be acquiring this now. I think we should wait 6 months. And I go, you know what, you're right.
That's such a smart angle to do that.
Yeah, because they know you. Nobody knows you better than your partner. So you might. So
Very
they
smart
know
angle.
you. So she has a human side to it all.
Because we look at sometimes something mechanically and we don't see that other side of it, but our partner sees the impact it has both at work and at home, which is very important. So very clever angle. I don't know what mine would do if I put her on the board. She'd probably make me work 24 hours.
Yeah. Well, look.
Get back out there.
It's very. I mean, it's interesting because she has a more. She's a really strong in the psychology space, naturally. So she judges people and she thinks about it and dwells, and she'll come back to me and go, I think you should handle this person this way. And that's the beauty of, for me, a board, is I'm looking for people with completely different strengths. So I've got a guy on the board who's done a 9-month ago appointment, really strategic. Never felt I needed a strategic person because that was me, but felt it would really be valuable having somebody else who's strategic in.
How many are on your board, Len?
We run, no, I think it's 6 or 7, I don't recall.
And they've all got different disciplines.
Everybody's got different
It really
disciplines.
intrigued me, that wife thing. I was looking forward to meeting your wife. My wife also did psychology as well. I thought it was an experiment when we started dating. Also very smart, and she knows a lot. She knows a lot about me. She helps me at work, keeps my mind clear, clarity, keeps me healthy. I think it's always good, and I've mentioned this before, to have a good partner, whether it be a wife, a business partner. They can really keep you in tune and really give you some warning signs when need be.
Look, business is part of your life. It's, you know, a big percentage of your life. You need a stable life. I mean, you need stable life, stable mind. It all goes to your overall success. I mean,
And your health.
it depends how you define success. To me, it's holistic. It's not business alone.
Let's ask that question. How do you, if you were to define success, and I'll define it as well, what would you say?
Success is, to me, a happy life. Now, that's a very wide answer. So if I define it within business, success to me is having great level of inventiveness. So I like creativity. To me, drives me. So I really want to excel in the creative space. I want products of mine to be creative.
Which you are, and you do.
And I want to be inventive. I want to change the way people think about things. A really important element for me is the human side. I really care about my staff, my clients, my suppliers, not because it's good for business, because that's the core of me. So I really want to make sure that I'm delivering the best outcome I can to them. So to me, that's success.
I think
Financial success sort of follows. If I do those really well, I'm pretty sure I'll be financially rewarded.
because it comes with brilliant leaders like that and yourself. when I saw Branson, he was all about people, and I asked him the question. 500 companies, over 90,000 people. I said, how do you attract so many people like you? He just cares about people. We're driving up in his buggy, he'll stop to grab one of his team members, jump in the buggy to take him up to get food, sit down. He was just an amazing people person, first and foremost. And he's the one that actually bought out, on my board, I'm one of them, I say client. He says, nah, team. You look after your team, they'll look after your clients. That's the most important team, which is going back a lot on what you're saying. I think my definition, going back to that question, success, health is probably the most important. Having a good family that respects people. Wealth is obviously an aspect of it, because with wealth you can do certain things. And a big part of wealth for me is continually learning, getting smarter, being able to help people, create an impact. For me, that's the most important part. Why do I want to get very, very wealthy? Because I want to make a bigger impact. I remember my uncle said to me once, he goes, Chris, why do you want to do this, and this? Because I want to help people. And his words were, get into a true position of power and then help people. And I think success doesn't build character, reveals it. So it's actually going to show you, accentuates who you are. So I know when I get to that point, it's going to be me times 100. So that's why I'm driven every morning to do that, to learn, to have a bigger impact, and people know. It's infectious too when you help people, I think, or when you give. It creates a better environment.
Oh, look, yeah. When I walk out of the doors of my office, people imitate my behaviour. Okay? It's amazing how when you're in a position of power, the influence you have on people. So when I walk out, if I'm in a bad mood or I look nervous, they sense that and they feel the same way. It doesn't matter whether you're in a charitable organisation or in your family. Your kids will imitate your behaviour.
How do you avoid that sometimes when you know you're having that day but you don't want to portray that on your team? Because everybody has it, we're human beings, it's inevitable. When you're at that frame of mind and you're thinking, and I have it too, mine's glass so you can actually see me in there, yours is closed so they can't see you. What do you do to try to mitigate that as much as possible?
Deliberately closed. I just breathe. You've just got to work it through, solve the problem. Don't show weakness when you walk out to the floor, and just try to solve the problem. But be strong when you walk out. When you're at home, it's a bit different. You've got to be a bit more human about it all. You've got to be a bit more vulnerable. I mean, you don't want to bring the negative traits to your family, but
Of course.
You can be more vulnerable.
It's a safe house.
It's a safe house, and you can't be you can't be a robot. And when I walk out a door in my office, I'm not a robot. I'm very human about it all, and I say hello, and I'm very friendly to everybody, and I joke around all the time. But I go out of my way to create a positive energy because they imitate it.
But you can see the vibe in an office. I guess you can sense it when coming in.
Yeah, and because I'm joking a lot of the time, and I'm not serious when I am serious. I don't have to be loud. I don't have to. When I'm serious, people pay attention because all of a sudden I'm not joking.
Your tone's very calm. You've got a very good demeanour. Always knew that as soon as I met you. Well, Len, I cannot tell you how much I appreciate the time today from everybody. What are 1 or 2 key takeaways for the business people, entrepreneurs out there that want to start a business that you can give them a little bit of tips?
Firstly, don't go in it for the money. I think that you've got to have a passion. Do research. I see so many businesses open up and I think, if they've done a bit of research, why would they have done that? I mean, why would you do it?
I heard a shop opened, the Christmas shop. A Christmas shop opened. You think it's going to do well outside Christmas? It went broke. 3 and 4 months later, I'm thinking, how could you open it was on the radio. Anyway, so that's a good example of that.
And I think ego gets in the way. People have this single-minded idea of it's going to be successful and they don't listen to people around them. If you actually ask people and talk to people that you care about, that they will give you the answer. My daughter started up a swimwear label that's become incredibly successful, but she spoke to so many people in the industry, about the risks and this and the other. So she was very informed, a very strong business plan. I think that's really important. Understand who your market is, who you're going for, stay very focused on that and write a business plan and get help. Because when you're young and you're starting out, it's really easy to go wrong because you don't have experience on your side.
So thanks for that, and one of the biggest Glenville advocates, I think I was telling you before, actually own 9 Glenville homes now.
That's incredible, thank you.
Thank you very much. So if you need a good builder, great payer, great everything, come see Len at, or Reventon, actually come see Reventon and we can sell your Glenville home. How's that? Hope you all enjoyed it. Have a good day, thanks.